you mentioned that England back in the day used to play 5 matches.
Yeah.
I don't remember 5, but I remember 4.
Lilac-Hill.
Well, there was that.
We
the
played
one day,
Lilac-Hill.
yeah,
Then we
okay.
played a 3-day game against Emerging. Then we went to my first tour. We went to Adelaide and played in Adelaide because I played in that game. I remember it as a young. I think I got 50 wickets on that tour. That's how many first-class games we played. Then we went to Perth and played a 4-day game because we had to practice there before the test match. Then we went to Tasmania and played Australia like A team, and then up to Brisbane for the first test. And then we played another first-class game in between the games.
I thought you were kidding when you said you went from Tasmania to Queensland.
No, that's what happened in '94. Look at it, it was ridiculous.
Okay, so it can be quite hard playing actual games with first-class status to ensure that fast bowlers get the adequate preparation or the ideal preparation that they want. You know, it can be quite difficult. It could be a really flat wicket and the opposition just bat for 2 days. You know, it's not particularly helpful, and it can rain, that sort of thing. So if the sports scientist comes along and says, this is what ideally you want your fast bowlers to do in preparation, then that's why Brendon McCullum did away with practice games. Okay. And he had this 2-day game. We'll bowl on the 1 day and we'll bat on the second, and we can ensure exactly how many overs all our bowlers bowl. You know, that's why he's done away with practice games, because they can sometimes go wrong in terms of preparation.
Look, it's an hard one, and finding the right balance, and we'll only find out with the result of the series, right? Because if we win the series, people say, "Oh, well, the preparation was spot on."
And McCullum has said that.
Yeah, exactly.
He
but
said,
if they go
"Judge
and
me
lose
at the end."
our record over there, and we didn't have any practice games last time, did we? We lost 4-0, didn't we? Right? No practice games.
I don't think there was any, were they?
There
They
you
might
go.
have played one of those games again where they played against the Lions.
Against each other. They played against each other,
I
didn't
think
they?
that's right.
So, no problem. And let's be honest, right? Army will tell you this as well. Having been a professional cricketer for many, many years and bowled in plenty of nets, played in many first-class matches, test matches, one-day internationals, T20s, I will tell you, but when you net or you bowl through to the keeper, it's not the same. It's not the same as playing in a game. It's like when you say, yeah, look, we're going to go out there, practice 100%. It's not, because you're bowling at someone who you've been with all the time. If I had suddenly put Justin Langer in front of me and I'm bowling like 5 miles an hour quicker because I want to absolutely knock his head off and I want to get a test wicket, I'm bowling at Dear Alf at the other end in a practice match. It's nothing on it. My body's going through the motions. Yes, I'm bowling, but I'm going through the motions. I haven't got that competitive edge playing against Australia with 50,000 people in the ground. In a net, when there's 5 people watching and a few cameramen and a newspaper guy looking for a story, they're getting nothing out of me.
Jarrod,
I'm 85%.
I instinctively felt uncomfortable about England playing each other. Their one warm-up game is against themselves, against the England Lions. And I have to say that, I mean, on the one hand, I wonder whether Gough is just a product of his generation and whether he's not moving with the times. But I completely agree that are you... I mean, you're not going to bowl with the same intensity at your countrymen, are you?
I suppose it depends on if you've got a personal friendship with the person at the other end. I mean, you know, sometimes in county cricket you go pretty hard at people who are from your same country as well. So I can understand that. The problem is...
But you play for your team.
First
that's what I was
game,
going to
same
say.
match.
England against England Lions.
I think if you're a Lions player, it probably means more, doesn't it?
Absolutely. They're the ones who benefit from this because the Lions players are they're the ones who want to get onto the England tour. It's got 34 players to pick between in these test series. I've never seen as many players. You've got 34. And these guys, for the Lions, it's a perfect opportunity to show McCullum. You're going to have the batters going out there trying to play like Viv Richards because that's the only way they're going to impress Ben Stokes and Brendon McCullum. And the bowlers thinking, one injury and I'm in. People like Matt Fisher, who moved to Surrey. The reason he moved to Surrey was to get in the England side. What's he had this year? He's had a decent season, got 30-odd wickets. He's back in England duty. He wasn't picked last year. 34 first-class wickets this year, and he's back in the squad. He's got an opportunity now to, one injury, and he's in that England side.
So if that works, then that can make sense, because you know of a famous game in South African cricket where the Western Province went up against South Africa, and that changed cricket forever in South Africa, because Graham Smith went, I'm going to destroy the South African team because I should have been in the team, and eventually became captain very soon after that. So you can sometimes get that. You also get the ones where I say the Australians play games against themselves where everyone's just laughing and joking and it's just a net session, right? So I'm not too worried about that. I do remember there was a period of time, and I've talked to some of the players involved with this, and they've kind of agreed with me that there was a period of time where India would play first-class games, but all the players would retire at 50, right? And they got good practice, everyone got a bat, it was exactly what they wanted. But then when they would go out in the game, these players would really struggle between the scores of 50 and 100 in test matches. And what it was is they weren't used to being tired and having to push through and keep making correct decisions because they'd only played a little bit of one-day cricket, or they were retiring in these other games. So you can go both directions. You really want a bowler to know what it's like to feel the third spell, but you also don't want them to probably be pushing as hard as possible in the fourth and the fifth when they've got a test match coming up. So you do have to find that balance, and it's never quite, it's not perfect, and you can have perfect preparation and still lose a series, right?
But at least you've got a perfect preparation.
Do you know, Manners, we all them players there we've talked about there, and if he's worried about...
How many players was it, Goughy?
34, really, unless my maths are wrong. But he's got two squads to pick between. And what I would have liked to have seen, if there's a possibility, would have been definitely you could have two different bowling attacks and two different batting attacks there with all those players. We want to have a proper look at Ollie Pope, don't we? We want to have a proper look at Jacob Bethel, these guys. Ben Duckett's had a bit of a break. He's got married, right? He's going to come back. Just to get out in the middle against quality bowling, opposition bowling, who have got a point to prove, and a competitive edge. It would have been good to have two first-class matches. You only have to play one. If you know your team, which he does, look, let's be honest, he knows his team for that first match in Perth, right? He knows it now. They know it now. They picked it 3 months ago, right? So you get to Perth, you have a practice game in Perth, and you play the players you think's going to play in that first test. Then you have another first-class game where the other guys then have had a week to recover. They can just have a little bit of light net practice, which we would call it. Just go through, get your technique right. Any problems, iron them out, and the batters can have some nets. And then you've got two games for the batters to get some runs and get some confidence in game. And if you've got someone who gets 150 and thinks, I fancy a week off now, he doesn't have to play. But if you've got somebody who gets 0 and 0, he's got another chance. He's got another chance to play in the game. But I just think it's gone out of the game now. It's gone too far the other way, and I'm all for it. I coach now in the modern game. I've just been in Canada coaching. Well, that is modern, 35-yard boundaries and T10 competition. But I just think it's gone nuts. It's gone too far the other way now.
It just occurs to me, Jarrod, that there might be people thinking, what famous game? What's Jarrod talking about? I'll just paint the picture.
I thought you were going to say, and then we moved on.
No, well, Goughy was talking. So it was before the 2003 World Cup, right? Graham Smith had, as far as he was concerned, controversially been omitted from the squad. And the South African team decided to play a couple of warm-up games, and they went down to Newlands to play Western Province, and a very young Graham Smith. He was 21 years old. He's in the Western Province team, and he looks around at his teammates, and he's of course simmering with indignation about not being in the squad. And he looks at his Western Province teammates, and they're all having a jolly. You know, they're putting on their sparring helmets. They realise that they're there to be knocked out and to provide some practice for the South African team. And he explodes, and he has this huge rant. And he's this 21-year-old with his senior Western Province players, and he says, I can't use the language, but he says, "Look, we're going to smash them. We're gonna go out there and hammer them," and that's exactly what happened.
He got in a fight with Sean Pollock on the field. That's how serious they were taking it. They had to be separated on the field. I'm not sure we're going to see that.
Sean Pollock was saying, "Look, just calm down, Sonny. Just calm down. You know what you're here for." And Graham Smith said, "No, that's not what we're here for. We're here to win," and that's what they did. It was amazing. It was an amazing competition, and yeah, I mean, Sean Pollock was a fiery redhead on the field, but
the point being is you can get those sorts of situations. There's a famous one in the Dream Team, isn't there, when Magic Johnson is like they're just running through the motions in their warm-up, and Magic Johnson starts getting into Michael Jordan on purpose because he knows once Michael Jordan gets going, everyone's going to try and compete with him. But generally, having been to those games, they're agreed upon games, aren't they? And he's going to bowl this many overs, and we're going to come off at this point and everything else. And so there isn't that fire. And as Goughy said, they do become net sessions at that point.
Goughy, I've spent all of my cricketing career, wishing that practice games had first-class status because it would mean something, and everyone played that much harder because it was their records, they were first-class wickets and everybody. But I'm finally sort of accepting the devil's advocate perspective that real games can go wrong. So you want a certain number of overs to be bowled by your key bowlers and whatever, and apart from the fact that it could rain, you could also bowl them out for 80, and you bowlers haven't got that sort of. So I still would prefer first-class practice matches, real matches with status that mean something. But I do accept Brendon McCullum's view that they can go wrong, and he'd rather scientifically manage the number of. But then again, if you do bowl a team out for 80,
that's what captaincy's about, though, man. Come on, we've got experienced players in there and a captain. We've got one of the best in Ben Stokes. They know how to manage their bowlers. I don't want Ben Stokes to play in a practice game and bowl 20 overs. I don't whatsoever, but we've got enough. And another thing that annoys me about the practice games they have against each other is, but they'll have, oh no, can we play 12 or play 13? And then they'll go in and they just smack it all over and walk off after they get 50, and that's enough. I mean, there's no pressure. It's nothing like playing a test match. Going to Australia is one of the hardest places to go as a cricketer. You want to test yourself against the real elite. People are talking about this being one of Australia's worst teams ever, right?
Are they?
Well, they are, of course they are. The Brody's come out with it, and a few others. They have still got some fantastic players there.
They didn't live in the 80s, those people.
Yeah, Travis said he's still a fantastic player. Steve Smith is still a fantastic player. That bowling attack, even with Boland in the side, I know people have said they'll be laughing at Boland. Boland puts the ball in Australia, and if anybody's watched Australian cricket over the last 2-3 years, the pitches have been spicy. They've been spicy, and that's why someone like Boland is now where he is, on the verge of playing in that first test. Well, he will be playing in that first test because the pitches have been perfect for bowlers like him, for people like Peter Siddle to keep going at the age he's going at, because they've done a little bit. Jimmy Anderson would be effective playing over there in Shield cricket at the moment with the pitches they've been playing on.
Jimmy Anderson must be looking at the pitches over the last couple of years going, this is probably the Ashes I should have been picked for in Australia. Like, if I was Jimmy, that's what I would have been suggesting.
I actually spoke to Peter Siddle over because I was his coach, believe it or not, in Canada. And I asked him, I said, look, what's the pitches going to be like? He said, Daz, if it's anything the last 2 years, Test cricket, the last 2 years in Australia, been spicy. If you get the ball in the right areas consistently, and that's why Cummins is so effective, he gets the ball in the right areas, and it does a bit. Boland coming into the side, and Hazelwood. They are so effective, and they're getting older now, and they want a little bit of help from the pitchers, and that's why the batters have struggled, and not averaging the high amounts of runs they used to get in, but all the bowlers are just knocking over the opposition for fun, because there is a little bit of extra bounce, and if you're someone from the UK playing county cricket, suddenly going to Australia and playing on these pitches, you need a couple of games to get used to the difference in bounce and the seam movement.
And also, I think Lyon was going to be dropped from the Ashes. I don't think he would have played all 5 tests. He might have played 1 or 2 because they're not bowling him anymore, Manners. I saw your face drop about 4 inches then. But they dropped him against the West Indies recently.
Well, that was a pink ball day-night test.
Yeah.
I mean, I expect... Yeah.
He used to average about 40, 45 overs a game in Australia, and it's down to about 20 overs a game. They're not using him. Then they don't need him. There's no time for him to bowl. And they got Webster.